After a successful Women's March on Washington, scientists are making plans to do the same, but not without some inner challenges. Adisa Hargett-Robinson has more.
Biologists, physicists, and chemists are all coming together for their love of science at the upcoming March for Science on Washington. The march was organized after the Trump administration proposed a temporary freeze on Environmental Protection Agency grants and limited federal scientists' ability to talk to the press and the public. American University chemistry professor Mark Hardings says the event's goal is to bring awareness of science to the Trump administration.
Tell our government how we think they are failing science and failing our society by not listening to science.
The march has gained attention from popular scientists, including Bill Nye, from the popular 1990 show Bill Nye the Science Guy.
The march, however, is not about its own divisions. Some are saying scientists should not get involved in politics at all and should focus just on promoting science, while others are saying the march focused on the lack of diversity within the science field.
The march has received negative attention from many who say it does not include women or minorities, and further continues a lack of diversity in the sciences. American University biology professor Sarah Knight-Marver says while diversity is an issue, it should not take over the march.
I feel like there should be a focus on trying to make it diverse, trying to include as many high-profile female scientists in it. So I think that's something they should focus on. I don't think that's the primary goal of the march. I think the primary goal of the march is to try to get the word across to the administration that science is very, very important.
Despite some controversy, the march is very popular in the science community and has spurred several local marches in cities across the country. The march is scheduled for April 22nd, Earth Day, and is said to have a large turnout. For District Wire News, I'm Adisa Hargett-Robinson.
Now we'd like to welcome Mr. Charlie Hinson. He worked for the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for more than 40 years, protecting public health and safety related to nuclear energy. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about how nuclear energy policy kind of fits in with the objectives of the March for Science.
Well, the objectives of the March for Science is to strengthen the bonds between science and the public, and also to hopefully increase education in America in the science area. And so there's a lot of negative aspects, connotations with nuclear power, and we're hoping, and a lot of this is based on people who really have no really good idea of what nuclear power entails. And so we're hoping that this march will start the wheel going for increased education of the public in various science fields such as nuclear energy.
So what should the public learn about nuclear energy?
Well, they should learn that a nuclear power plant is not like a nuclear bomb. I mean, there's a lot of people who think that plants can explode, and they cannot explode. The plants at Fukushima, those explosions were hydrogen explosions. They were not related to nuclear explosions.
Okay, so what are some of the benefits of nuclear power as compared to kind of what people think of as the traditional power sources?
Well, nuclear power emits no greenhouse gases. And as you know, coal and fossil burning plants emit 40% of the CO2 in the US. And so these plants, like I said, emit no greenhouse gases. I mean, other power producing methods in the US that don't produce gases are solar power and wind energy and hydroelectric power, but nuclear, 60% of those plants are nuclear, 60% of the non-emission.
So shifting gears a little bit, Donald Trump has stated that he's sort of in favor of nuclear power, even though the Trump administration is not really going to consider climate change as one of the decisions that it makes in its regulatory policy decisions. Now, the most recent news is that Westinghouse, who is building 2 new plants in South Carolina and Georgia, filed for bankruptcy. So can you tell me a little bit about kind of what's going on there and what the implications of that are?
Yeah, sure. There are currently, back in 2007, there were 27 new applications for power plants in the US after a lull of 30 years of building since the 70s. And unfortunately, a year after that, the recession hit, and that knocked out a lot of utilities' plans to build nuclear. And then fracking and the cheap natural gas in the US has also forced a lot of utilities to pull their plugs on nuclear power. So out of those 27 applications, there's only 9 that are currently ongoing, and 2 of those are the plants in Georgia and South Carolina. and those are both Westinghouse designed plants. And so unfortunately, those plants are a couple years behind schedule and several $1 billion behind schedule. And so I just read an article this morning that they're not sure. Toshiba owns Westinghouse, and Toshiba's trying to cut their losses by filing for this bankruptcy. But 5 of the plants that are going to be built are all Westinghouse designed plants, and the others are GE plants. So right now we haven't decided, no one knows exactly what's going to happen with the ones that are under construction, but they're behind schedule, but they're like 70% complete, those 2 plants. And those are the first 2 plants that have been built since the 70s.
Okay, and so what are some of the challenges going forward in maybe turning these projects around and actually getting them built, or just for nuclear energy policy in general?
Well, I think one of the problems that delayed and pretty much shut down the plants that were being under construction back in the 70s was 3 Mile Island, and the NRC put a lot of new regulations in place, and the time it took to build a plant was over 10 years, and so a lot of utilities just pulled the plug back then. Then we came up with new advanced reactor designs that the industry did, GE and Westinghouse being 2 of those. And these plants, like the 27 that came in, are supposedly, they're the next generation of power plants.
All right.
And so,
Well, thanks so much for joining us, and I think we've all learned a lot about nuclear energy policy.
okay, thank you.
Now back to Kelvin.
Climate change has a variety of effects on everyday activities such as cold showers and heavy heat waves. Experts say that this can cause the flu and premature deaths. The Carter Center in Atlanta, Georgia, gathered on Thursday at a health meeting which to discuss the dangers this would bring to many around the country. President Trump stated that there is some controversy about the connection between both, but he expressed doubts on climate change. Last Thursday, SpaceX achieved a space travel first, a successful launch of a partially used rocket back into space. The rocket was first used in April 2016 and landed on an ocean platform and was refurbished on the recent SpaceX launch. Founder Elon Musk believes that reusing rockets will significantly reduce the cost of space travel and will be essential to reaching Mars. Tractor trailers driving themselves are coming to a highway near you. As self-driving technology advances, there are companies racing to put these driverless trucks on the road. Uber recently purchased Otto for $680 million, signaling a huge investment in driverless trucks. Otto and many other automakers say driverless technology will make the road safer and that they plan to have fully functioning driverless cars by 2020. Hungry DC residents might be surprised by who delivers their next food order. Food delivery service Postmates has teamed up with Estonian tech company Starship Technologies to put a fleet of 20 food robots on DC sidewalks. The robots are self-driving and have a number of sensors to avoid pedestrians and even stop at crosswalks. Samsung would like to leave its fiery products in the past, and they want to introduce the Samsung Galaxy S8. The Galaxy S8 the Galaxy S8 Plus has many advantages. The whole front of the phone is pretty much a full graphic. The Samsung Note 7 has electrical issues that cause many to ignite. And more forward with that, the negative image and of their products in the past has changed, but Samsung is looking to change that. Microsoft is once again taking aim at Apple with its latest Windows 8 phone update. This time Microsoft is challenging Apple's hold on creative computer users like designers, musicians, and artists. The update improves Windows 3D capabilities and adds support for virtual reality headsets. It will be available on April 11th. Keeping our personal data secure as possible is pretty much important these days, of course. But with the government and other hackers tracking our data, many smartphone consumers worry that their privacy and security are at stake. Our reporter Afra Abdullah has more on the story.
If you have a smartphone, chances are that every single move you make is being tracked, location by location, including the exact times you were there. Apple has a hidden privacy section on your phone, which many consumers are not aware of. In order to find out where your personal information is being stored and to shut it off, all you have to do is go to Settings, select Privacy, select Location Services, then tap on System Services, and finally, you'll see Frequent Locations, displaying a map view of everywhere you've been, from your house to work, including the dates and times you were there. As frightening as your smartphone knowing your whereabouts are, American University Technical Assistant Specialist Matthew Fry says this is nothing new.
If someone wants to get my information or to know where I am, there's not much I can really do about it. I can take the precautions, I can know where I'm going or who has my information, but if someone wants to get that stuff, they're going to get it.
Even with the risk of people's information being shared on Google without their knowledge, it did not seem to faze many smartphone users. In fact, DC tourist Elizabeth Rove says it might bother her wife, but not her.
There's a button that you can push to turn it off, right? The location.
American University student Ryan Jordan thought differently.
Not needed information, so I don't really understand why organizations would have that. And I would hope that some type of legislation would come out of it.
Both consumers agree that tracking is likely to occur due to the growth of technology. But if you don't want to be tracked, the best advice is to disable the tracking features on your phone. Afra Abdullah, District Wire News.
With us as we learn more about how depression is affecting our health. What can you do to solve this problem? Find out next.